Hello there, SERAPHIM17 once again. This is my Dark Souls 3 walkthrough. We're moving into Irithyll Dungeon and the Profaned Capital and Yhorm the Giant. There's also going to be some Irithyll of the Boreal Valley thrown into the mix, because of course that's where we are. And we're going to be pushing forward on this soon-to-be luck-based PvP build, which is also going to help you get through PvE. So it's kind of one of those builds that is decent at doing everything. Now we have the doll, we can get past the protective barrier that leads into this area, and we can hit the first bonfire. And we're going to be introduced to the Pontiff Knights, which are one of the most dangerous enemies in the game, because if you play their game and you let them be first, they can do big damage with big combos, and you will never see it coming because it's incredibly quick. But the trick to this enemy is, of course, trying not to kill too many of them and being first. You can parry them, you can backstab them, and they are incredibly weak after some patches to being completely stun-locked. In my first playthrough, I don't remember them being this easy to actually stun-lock. I don't know if they changed anything with tweaks and things, but it really feels like they did compared to the Japanese version that we all started with. I don't know what it is, but on my first run, these guys were so dangerous, so lethal, and now they're just kind of really manageable once you know what you're doing, I guess. And it's probably a testament of experience and knowledge being superior than it was when you first played, but they definitely feel a lot more manageable now, thanks to certain tweaks and balance adjustments. But next to me I have the guidebook again. Once again, I don't recommend you buying it, guys, and the information that I'm giving from it is probably to be taken with a pinch of salt, as is most information in most games. But these creatures that were coming up here, they have claymores, and they have the ability to cause a lot of damage, because they're a mob that puts pressure on you, while the Fire Witch can attack from a distance. And the Fire Witch is one of the coolest enemies in the game, and it's to my left. Right there we just picked up a budding green blossom. That is the best stamina recovery item in the game. I believe it gives you like +9 stamina for a minute or something. The unfortunate problem is you can't buy them, and you have to farm them off those awful looking creatures with all the spindly legs. But this is the Fire Witch. This is a creature that at a distance has the ability to do all kinds of magic that will follow you around corners, hit you through walls. He's an absolute nightmare. But up close, he doesn't fare too well, and that's his weakness. When he puts his staff in the ground like that, he will do a plume of fire. If you're anywhere near it, it's going to knock you off your ass, so be careful. Just like that, see? I like my walkthroughs to show you what happens when you get hit by pillars of fire. But all this is subterfuge. They've got those little scrubbers coming in here to try and hit us with their special claymores while he's casting magic. So keep on top of it, strip them down, thin the numbers, and hopefully you'll get some interesting drops here, because the drops get a little bit better as you progress through the game. All of these enemies can be ran past, but I wanted to make an effort of showing you them, because in my first footage of Dark Souls it was me running through this area, so for the purposes of the walkthrough I wanted to show you a bit more of a slower methodical path here, but running is very effective, because if you know where the bonfire is, it's incredibly easy to get to, and you won't risk getting bummed or getting, you know, gangbanged by a bunch of enemies that really don't deserve to kill you, but sometimes they get lucky, don't they, punk? Also, the items on the corpses here are quite difficult to see because they blend in with the snow. So you want to keep an extra eagle eye out for some of those. And I've got to call attention to this, but this is one of the most beautiful areas in the game, and everybody compares it to Bloodborne because, of course, Cainhurst Castle was very reminiscent of this, and a lot of the design in Bloodborne is kind of this kind of setting. Yeah, I think that this place doesn't feel Bloodborne to me at all, and it doesn't play Bloodborne either, so I think it's very Dark Souls 3, and I just think it's a real tour de force of design elements, especially when you compare it to things like the early footage they showed for this game. It was so bad. It was all grey, it was all puke yellow, it was all brown, you know, there wasn't a single colour to be seen. And then when you get to the final game and then you come to places like Irithyll, or you see the Eclipse and you see how it changes those boring looking environments, and it just makes them really resonate. I think they were very clever to show what they showed and to keep those surprises for the player to enjoy, and I'm really grateful for that, because I was incredibly surprised, and I'm sure you were too, to see these areas and be like, wow, they really nailed it with this. And this is one of my favourite places to invade, one of my favourite places in the game, and it's also got a really good boss fight who's very tricky, but he's also really fun, so it kind of hits all of the points that I think make a fun area of a Souls game. So let's get into some of the semantics of these enemies, shall we? We've got the Burning Stake Witch. That's apparently the Fire Witch's full name. I call them Fire Witches because that's what their torso's called when you get it. But it says here it's a Burning Stake Witch. He has 792 life. He's weak to dark and frost. And he drops his gear, basically. Then there's the Cathedral Evangelist, who we just killed, who dropped the Gnawing spell. She's pretty much the same, but she has 1600 lives, so she's definitely got an upgrade. Here's the second bonfire. This is the one you want to use to get to the boss from. Very useful. Then we have the Irithyllian Slaves, which I assume are the Claymore guys. Irithyllian Soldier Slave. So these guys have about 512 life, and their weakness is physical attack and bleed. So our build is really good at killing those dudes. Then we have the Pontiff Knights. 591 HP. They drop all of their gear, and their curved swords, and their shields, and they're apparently weak to dark, so that's pretty cool. These people here must be the Irithyllian Slaves. These invisible guys that only become visible when they get close to you. Oh, on this corner as well, not only is there a good item here, but if you're in human form, and I think it's... I can't remember how you do this. You have to do Ceres' quest before you kill Pontiff Sylvain, and then if you come here in human form, you'll get invaded by Kraton, the Wanderer, I think he's called, the dude from Dark Souls 2, and he drops that Dragon Slayer axe that was incredibly powerful until they nerfed it, and it probably is still very good, but that's one of the only weapons in the game I don't have, because I've never done her full quest before killing Pontiff. Something I need to still do, indeed. But then we've got Sewer Centipedes, that's what they call those multi-limbed creatures. 478 life. And they drop green blossoms and budding green blossoms. Their weakness is strike. So if you have a striking weapon, you'll do good damage. Then we have the Corvian. You know about the Corvian, we just killed him. Sylvain's Beast. Okay, that's those berserk creatures. 2,296 HP. They're weak to fire. I don't know if it makes them flinch, but it's something definitely to test. And then we've got the Irithyllian Beast Hounds, which is the dogs in this area, which are apparently a different type of hound. I don't know why. 345 HP, and they're weak to fire too. Fire's really good for that kind of stuff. Oh, I love this. Watch this. You do like a flip in midair if you do this right. Watch. Whoa! Double flips. I love that. I'm so easily amused, but that's one of my favourite jumps in the game. And all you're doing is jumping over a barrier. It's something I've done a million times in Dark Souls 1, but I love getting that awkward, weird aerial flip. It's really fun. And then we have, of course, Pontiff Sylvain. 5,106 HP. He gives you 28,000 souls when you kill him, and he's weak to thrust. So, still a virgin then. But that's pretty much all the stuff in Irithyll. When we get to the Profaned Capital, I'll whip the book out again. Here is a secret wall, if you don't know, nice and illusory. The biggest giveaway is that you can both hear and see that lizard, so just put the 2 points together and find the wall. And then be careful here, there is a spellcasting Irithyllian slave guy, and then there's one over in the side to try and ambush you. But I love how you can see the soul mass before you see the dude, because it's really intimidating. It's just random pieces of crystal magic homing in the air, like what is it doing? Why is it there? And then you get close, and of course it's some invisible peasant guy who... I don't even know why they're here. They must be the denizens of the city or something. Another great feature too. If you run past that beast that was on the bridge at the beginning of this zone, he will jump off the bridge and attack you in this water. And let me tell you guys, you do not want to be fighting one of those creatures with a movement penalty, because they are way too dangerous, they have a lot of life, and you cannot... The emphasis on stamina in this game is amazing, so you cannot stress just how important stamina truly is. As I come over here to this item, which is a green blossom. You might be wondering why I didn't swap to the dagger there. It's actually faster to go through that area rolling than it is to use the dagger move, because the dagger's only good because it gives you a fat roll in the areas, and the dagger is a faster choice then. But through that zone, it's quicker to just have good stamina regeneration and just a roll. Of course, I didn't come up with any of this shit, guys. I just watched a bunch of speedruns when I was playing the game back at launch. So I picked up some information and I implemented it into my gameplay. But coming down here, there's going to be an interesting little ambush. Bunch of the Irithyllians and a Pontiff Knight and one of those stake fire witches, which I'm not going to start calling them burning stake witches because there's no point, dude. They're going to be fire witches for me. But over here's an item, and our large Titanite shard. Unfortunately for us, that doesn't mean shit, because at this point, I've already showed you a way to get to chunks. And if you can get shards and chunks, you can get way better weapons than this zone can handle. And we could have done that, guys. We could have got our weapon up to +10 if we wanted to, before we even came here, and all of this would be a joke. So if you're looking to get stupid strong, farm some levels, get that bleed up, get that Carthus Rouge, and then get that weapon upgraded, and when you come here, you will destroy everything. But here comes Alva, Seeker of the... Is it Spurned, it says? I can't really see on this monitor. This guy is the biggest dick in this game. I don't know what they did with the NPCs, but certain NPCs do so much damage, it's not even funny. If this dude hits you with that Murakumo, it literally takes off 60 to 70%. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's very strong. On New Game Plus cycles, I don't even recommend fighting him, because I fought him on like New Game Plus 4 or 5, and he one-shot me. And I never understand why the New Game cycles do that to the NPCs. I can understand him getting a bit more life, but don't make him one-shot people. And I had like 50 vigor too. I wasn't running around with this HP that you see on this character. I had a lot of life, and the dude just murked me. It was really, really brutal. But when you kill him, if you choose to, he will actually drop the Murakumo. One of the new features in Dark Souls 3, which I'm not the biggest fan of, is each area seems to have an invader NPC, and when you kill them, you get a unique weapon. I love the idea of it, but it's annoying when you miss them, because you can't go back and do them again, you've got to do the New Game Plus cycle, so my one criticism of it is that if any game would have been great with bonfire aesthetics, it would have been this. Because the bosses in this game are incredibly fun, and they need to be practiced to be learned. And if you're not a person who likes to keep replaying a game, and you want to get attached to a character and build him up, you've got to do New Game Plus cycles, and at a certain point, New Game Plus is great and well, but it just keeps getting more and more inhabitable. You know, you get to the point where your game is so heavily scaled that certain areas can be really miserable to get through, especially if you've ever gone super, super high, where it does cap out after about 7, they say, but it still feels like they're getting that increase, and certain stuff hitting you like a truck just gets really frustrating after a point. I mean, the Souls is fantastic. Oh, this is a skip, by the way. This will skip running past a bunch of unnecessary enemies, and we can get directly to where we need to be. And I make a mistake here, guys. You can also survive that skip without spook if you have second chance. If you have Tears of Denial, you can just die and then roll out of the death because it survives you with 1 life. I found that out on my other character who didn't have spook. Really useful. But what we're doing here is we're actually picking up some of the important items, and then we're going to be going to... there's the coal to enable you to infuse hollow weapons, I think it is, and a few other ones. This is a dangerous room too if you don't understand it. I never entertain those awful slave things. I just get on with it. But I wanted to go to Archdragon Peak. So you're going to notice I'm going to walk over here, and there's probably going to be an edit here. Or you might not even see it, I might have edited out. I sat down at the statue to go to Archdragon Peak, and I was there for about 10 minutes, because I went to the toilet and I came back and it had not teleported me. And I couldn't understand why. I was like, can you not go at this time? Have I broke the game? And it's because I got invaded. Because Alva's still running around at the top of this place, it will not let you go to that special cutscene. So you can't actually get to it until he goes away. And you're going to see me get to... all the way to the Profaned Capital before I realise this dude is still in my fucking world. And he won't go away. So I end up going to fight Yhorm because I have to, because there's no other choice. I can't do the things I wanted to do. It was really frustrating. I can't hit the bonfires because I've been invaded. And I can't do this because I've been invaded. And it's just that thing of, okay, thank you, cutscene that never happened. And it's just the way that the game works. It was my mistake, I just didn't realise at the time. So let's talk about some Irithyllian stuff, shall we? So the Irithyll Dungeon, it has reanimated corpses that have 391 HP and are weak to fire. It has infested corpses that have the same stat and are weak to fire. It has the Lycanthrope who's in that one cage, and then we've got Monstrosity of Sin. What in God's name is a Monstrosity of Sin? Okay, that's those dudes that have hands for their faces, that crawl about and attack you in that one place. And they drop shit pies, which makes them completely pointless to kill unless you want the Eleonora thing, Eleonora, whatever you call it. Then there's the Corpse Grub, which is 1,898 HP. What is that? Corpse Grub. That must be that big leech monster, I assume. Then there's a wretch. None of this is interesting. That one's weak to lightning. It drops a tailbone spear, so I assume the wretches are those prisoners that look all crazy baby-faced. Hound rat, avaricious beings, basilisk, we know. Here we go, jailer. The jailers have 727 HP. They drop pretty much their outfit and that soldering iron that they use, and they're weak to poison and toxic. And that's pretty much it. Everything else is kind of just reused stuff we've already seen. So let's talk a little bit about the... Oh, this is me trying to hit the bonfire, I think. And I can't because I've been invaded. And I'm just like, why is my bonfire dead? I just couldn't remember. And it's because of Alva being a dick. But in this capital, we have more of those monstrosities of sin. More centipedes, more mimics, more crystal lizards. And then we have the headless gargoyles. So these guys are actually pretty interesting. The headless gargoyle has 890 life. He drops the gargoyle flame hammer and the gargoyle flame spear, and he's weak to strike. So if you have strike, you can do some good damage to him. And then we have Yhorm, the giant. This dude has 27,000 life. 822. If you're wondering, that's your average Bloodborne DLC boss, pretty much. Even though they had like 21, didn't they? 21 to 25. But that is a straight up Bloodborne DLC life bar, that. Of course, he's weak to lightning, which I didn't know if I knew that, but apparently that's what the book says. And of course, he drops 36,000 souls, so pretty standard stuff. But at this sequence, that fire there is going to fire perfect fireballs at you, which can be dodged by, of course, rolling through them and using those precious iframes, or just moving at a really good clip. And you have to be moving at a good clip or they'll still hit you, as witnessed just then. They are very accurate. They're a little bit too accurate for my taste. I would actually prefer it if you could piss in the bowl and put the fire out, so after this they can't fire bullshit at you. That'd be a nice touch if you could somehow extinguish the flames, sorry. But I don't think you can, so instead we're going to run through the fog, and good old Yhorm is here, and that's when I realised what was wrong. Like, oh yeah, I got invaded by that douchebag. Makes sense. But here's Buddy Yhorm. Run through those bad boy legs. Get that storm troller. Put it on in the menus if you're pretty good at doing that kind of thing. Hopefully you are. I always wait for him to swing and then I menu. It's the best way to do it, I think. And then I get confused at where the hell it is because I can't recognise the pictures, and then there it is. So two-hand, and then hold the left trigger to start charging. Soon as you see the wind change like that, it means you have a charge, and if you can hit the boss, it will be a guaranteed stun. So you can use that opportunity to charge again, or you can get some distance, or you can heal up. This is a gimmick fight, and I'm fat apparently, so drop your gloves, Chris. Always drop them gloves. Here he comes with a big strike. I do recommend fighting this boss without this sword, not necessarily killing him, but just enjoy his pattern, learn his pattern, understand how he works. Because if you use this sword, you are never going to understand this boss because there's no need to. Because killing him any other way takes forever. It takes far too long. And I wish there was more to this boss because he's the coolest looking boss in the game, probably. And all you do is hit him with a gimmick sword. Really sad. Watch out for his super jump. Here it comes. Superman punch. Superman ground pound. Oh, that looked stylish. Very close, though, because that is a 3-hit combo. Look at the frame rate as well. Fantastic. Look at it. Look at the frame pacing on this game. There's nothing wrong here, guys. Not one bit. Best version of Dark Souls 3. It's not like you can patch it or anything like they did for Halo and all those other developers that fixed frame pacing, but FromSoft refused to because they're incompetent at optimizing their games. Absolutely terrible. Every time I watch Big Benedict's videos, they make me sad. Because he's on a flush 60 frames per second, and then I have to come back to this because I've got my peasant PC. It's so heartbreaking. But it must be said, guys, this game looks beautiful when it's running at 60. It really does. And I have no idea why they don't take extra time and try and optimize it for console so it actually runs at a nice clip. Because you can tell yourself and you can delude yourself into thinking that the PS4 version runs really well. It doesn't. Not compared to PC, guys. Nowhere near compared to PC. It runs way better than this one, but it ain't PC.